Okay, did that actually work? If so, I have a funny story to tell you. Okay, it actually looks like it did work. I don't know what happened. It was just hanging. Maybe too many people trying to get online at once. So can everyone hear me at all? Okay, so if you can hear me, funny story. I was traveling last weekend and had my laptop with me, and for some reason, the same headphones I'm wearing now, the Bose ones I got last year, they were only registering as a mic and not as headphones, and it just kept talking out of the computer speaker. I fucked around with that for an hour, and I don't know why they weren't working as should. And then I went to volume of all things, and immediately it got fixed with a button I accidentally hit. And that's kind of what happened tonight. I restarted the computer. I started a new thing, did this and that. I hit F5 to reset the page, and it worked. Again, I don't think it was an issue on my end. I think it might have been a YouTube issue because everything was coming up fine here. Mic, camera, lights, cats, action. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they're busy. Who knows? Maybe I did something wrong. I try to do these every so often just so I don't get out of practice because for me, operating a computer is very much memory and remembering where things are supposed to be and whatnot. And if I don't do it in a while, I kind of just forget. Anyway, I'm going to see what you guys have said in the interim. Well, you got a little bit of a late start, but what can we do? Although, if you want to toss in a couple of bucks, that wouldn't hurt either because I could use a drink. I'm also going to warn you, I may start coughing. I don't think I'm sick. I think it's just allergies because the weather here has been crazy. Tusk, yeah, I'm not sipping on anything. I've just been working. Last night was the first night I think I got close to a full night's sleep. But it's all good. Hey, Skinwalker. Okay, I just figured it out. Boomstick. My speech says B00 blah blah blah, and you say you're up for Quickie, but Boomstick. Okay, I got it. Tusk, I would agree with you on Nine Inch Nails. Unfortunately, I am out of edibles. Feel free to share. Hey, Jacobson. At least I know now if it's doing that, I can just try hitting the F5 to refresh the page, and then it says, "Do you want to leave?" Blah blah blah. Of course, but seems to have picked up. Yeah, I'm kind of with you on the 4 10-hour days. If I'm gonna work, I'd rather just work. If when I'm in the mood to work, it's usually straight through. And when I'm not, no, I don't want to do anything. It should be coming through the mic on the headphones, but because that's where I set it, that was before restarting the computer. If it's going through the webcam mic, oh well, we'll live. Hey, Ray 67. Yeah, MacBooks and speech software. It's better today. It is, but 20 years ago, TTS and Macs were not great friends. Skinwalker, yeah. I wonder if it is just like a YouTube thing. I'm not sure. Jessica Simp, go back to New Year's. I think it was the 2018, 2019. It might have been 2019, 2020. I think it was 18 and 19. We did a video on the Barrett M82A1M, the Marine version. Sean Zimmerman, what do I think of PSA CHF uppers? I don't. I mean, not good or bad. I don't know much about them, and that's because they don't really release much about them. They say they've got cold and reforged, but they don't. I don't know. I mean, one of the benefits of like saying you have a hammer forged barrel from Yashask or Arsenal is it's going through not just the military production process, but the military testing and proofing process. What's PSA's testing and proofing? It may be excellent. I don't know. Yeah, Parley, you must be new here. Yes, it's a cover over the camera. But to be fair, even if I did flip it open, you wouldn't see much. Oh, there's a black box around here. Yep, it's got a camera cover. But again, even if I flipped it open, you would just see a black room, maybe with some, computer lights in the background. Polish vodka. I actually have a bottle of Polish vodka in the fridge. Thank you, Tusk. Surprise, surprise, I'm more of a vodka drinker than a bourbon drinker, but I will drink bourbon on. It's I'm not against it, but yeah, Ukrainian ice vodka, I'm aware of that. If the US military had adopted the FAL, it's hard to do what ifs. Really is, especially when you're sober. What's interesting is because the US adopted such a crappy rifle in the M14, it gave that impetus to go to the AR-15, which was ahead of its time. If we had gone with the FAL, which was kind of its time, not ahead, not behind, would we have gone with the AR? And if we had not gone with the AR, and more importantly, the 223, later 5.56 cartridge, with the rest of NATO? That's the thing. There's that ripple effect. Yeah, Tusk, I wouldn't mind getting the H&R stuff. Of course, that's basically rebranded Nodak, right? I'm not dinging it, but it's basically just the Nodak stuff under the PSA H&R umbrella. Sorry, I know nothing about the white label armory, bulk carrier groups. Ask Chris Bartacci. I actually spoke with him a couple hours ago today. Super family, yeah, PSA gets the barrels from FN, but my question is, how do they get them? Are they complete barrels? Are they already profiled? Are they already cut to length? Are the chambers already cut? Or do they get blanks or mandrels from FN? How much work does FN do? How much work does PSA do? Hi, Clark. Joe or Jose. As far as taking the DSA 58 out, the lightweight one from last year, I actually went ahead and sold. It, things came up. Someone wanted it late last year, and I could always get another one. There is a DSA paratrooper that just came in that someone spray painted baby poop brown. I could take it out. I actually have 308 ammo now. Problem last year was there was that dearth of 308 ammo, but now I've got a few thousand rounds, so can do that. Observer, how's the Jack treating you? Harley, I mean the Pioneer Arms guns are, I mean they're working. Not much more I can say about it. They are working. I do think if you own one, the parts that you'll see kind of fail first are the peripherals. Like the safety seemed a little thin to me, the top cover, but I'm nitpicking for the money. I'm just letting you know that I don't expect. It took them a few tries, but obviously they got it right enough. Look, making an AK isn't as difficult as U.S. manufacturers have managed to make it seem over the years. And by U.S. manufacturers, I mostly mean Century. They just fucked up with the RAS 47 and really the Visca, and it just kind of gives this weird impression. Also, keep in mind that Pioneers, at least in a nation that made AKs, so it wouldn't have been too hard for them to find someone who at least knew what the hell they were doing. They're also in a nation where labor is relatively, I mean, Poland's pretty good for Eastern Europe, standard of living wise, but labor is still cheaper there than it is here. And that's really what you need for AK production. The cheaper the labor, the better the AK production, as weird as that sounds. Hey, Sean. Black Cat, Sam 7 SF worth it at 2K? I don't know. Worth it in what way? I mean, everything's high now. I like the Sam 7 SF. It's a good, dependable gun. If you're a collector and want an ARM9, that's really the only way to go. It's got all the features. Oh, the STG 2000C was actually cheaper than a Wasser. I remember them being on racks. No one wanted them. To be fair, the furniture they came with was Tapco crap back then, like the buttstock and handguard. So, yeah, the bones were good, the underlying Romanian gun, but the crap put on them in America. And look, IO always tainted whatever gun they imported. Look at the Archer, look at the original Viper 1V. The IO name was the opposite of an attraction. Skinwalker, I think you're right that PSA's parts are perfectly fine. I've just noticed their assembly is probably not even bad there, but that's the lack of QC. It's you put together things, but a good factory QC means someone's double checking, even triple checking someone's work and not letting things go out the door. Well, one way to save money is to cut down on QC. You're eliminating several positions and all that, and then funky things happen because we all do it. I mean, I've done guns, you've done guns too, I'm sure. we put something in wrong and then go later. But if you've got QC set up for checking, that's not likely to get out the door. That said, even big makers let lemons slip out. So PSA is not alone in that for sure. Exactly, super family. Clark, 76239 is a great cartridge for what it was designed to do. For what it was designed to do. Super family, so you're saying that the barrels come in ready to go, ready to drop onto a gun. The PSA doesn't do anything? I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying. So if so, that's a good thing. Lacote, all's been fine. It has been well. It's just been a lot going on. Really busy. Hey, Clark. Sean, what I see on the ARs right now, the AR market's flooded. The AR market is definitely a buyer's market. But the guns I see that hold value, at least somewhat, tend to either be good quality retro replicas or name brand guns, especially name brand guns that are military style. You know, a copy of a Mark 18, a Mark 12, or just from a brand like FN or Colt. Yeah, skin, it might be the best jack of all trades round, but also, of course, the counterpoint to that is it's a master of none. So, and also keep in mind weight. One thing that the Soviets really liked about going to 545 was how much lighter it was, thus how much more ammo could be carried. Hey, Tess, thanks again. Doing a video with Chris is going to be difficult. It's a long story, getting into his personal life. I don't know how much he said on live streams about his living situation. I've been trying to just get him to come down. I said at first, hey, we can do, remotely, but he doesn't know how to do a live stream at all. Worse than me, apparently, which is hard to believe. I tried to tell him, look, if I can do it, you can too. And then at that point, I was like, why don't you just come down? Head Marshal, AK 105, huh? Adam, you're asking a blind guy about colors. That said, it means it's about to explode. Yeah, they turn bronze when they're about to blow up. I'm just fucking with you. I don't know. I mean, metal discolors. I mean, part of it's just oil and grease. A part of it's just time. I'm sure it's fine. Of course, in the olden days, it used to be kind of case hardening, and from the quenching, process, it's nothing. I mean, metal discolors could be lots of reasons. I wouldn't worry. I mean, that's what happens. Observer, you said picking up a Polish side folder. Which kind? Yeah, honestly, by the time the BFT came out, I had little interest in Century's guns. I'm sure they're okay. I mean, surely they got them down where they're not blowing up, but why? There's so many other AKs, and the ammo is not exactly cheap right now. So why would I want to spend my time with that? Sean, it could be patina rust, but it could also just be just discoloration. For example, you see it on a lot of old mill syrup or something that was once silver, kind of does get a golden hue to it just out of age. What's funny is Jessica Simp. If the NATO stuck with 7.62, then Russia would not have probably done 5.45. Then what? Again, ripple effect. Oh yeah, I'm talking about paint. Remember some of the pistols? I remember some of the original CZ 999s out of. Actually, they were still marked Yugoslavia, even though it was around the time of the transition over to Serbia. But they had almost a purple slide. And I think it was said then it was because of a high copper content in the metal when they went to finish it. But yeah, discolorations happen. I've got a finished L35 with a replacement slide, and the slide's like almost a bronzy brown. It's blued, but it's just the way it was done. It kind of came out that color. Cadet Leo, am I missing something, Cadet? It says out of my entire collection. Okay, yeah, 2000C with like the right furniture. Maybe like a German wire folder and like German Bakelite handguards. Yeah, sure. Clark, as far as Serbian AKs, they're built well, but I'm going to be 100% honest. So are a lot of other AKs. They are solid, I'll give them that. But I guess I don't really feel like they're better built than a lot of other factory AKs. This is what I always tell people. Yeah, they've got the 1.5 receiver, but how often have you heard of a 1.0 receiver failing in those areas, really? It's not exactly a high failure point. I mean, the reason that Serbia slash Yugoslavia before then beefed those up was for shooting rifle grenades. Had top five guns of all time. Probably would take me longer to think about. That's more of a video topic, so I think a lot of people think the AR-15 is the Glock of rifles. It was the Glock of rifles for 20 years before the Glock existed. And what really helps the AR is true interoperability, a true standardized part. And also, it was designed in the 50s with aircraft manufacturing technology, and it was designed to be produced not so much by a lot of manual labor, but by modern machines of that era. I mean, even though the AR isn't a whole lot older than the AK, they were designed in very, very different time periods. The AK was designed starting in World War II with old Russian manufacturing in mind. The AR was designed post Korean War with aircraft manufacturing and other more advancements in mind. So one was a little backwards when it was being designed, and one was forward thinking, and then separate them by a good decade, and there you go. I didn't even hear about the HK-45C. Sorry. Disconnector, but yeah, that didn't shock me. My theory is either a lot of people got rusty being laid off because of lockdown, or A lot of the old guard retired or moved up or whatever, so you had a bunch of new people being trained, and it happens. Ah, Skinwalker. Arsenal hasn't been gamble free in a long time. I still like Arsenal, but yeah. Cadet again at top five favorite guns. Honestly, that's a little more than a lie. I would want to think about it. Do you mean rifles, pistols, modern, any? Yep, the L1A1 import is definitely a cool one, just because it's one of the few legitimate service FAL types in this country, at least here legally. Well, William Teasel, I appreciate you joining, and I appreciate you saying that. I will be putting more on Patreon. It's just right now I'm putting a lot of time into other efforts, but yeah, I want to put more up over there over time, but it's all in the works. Once the cabin and the range are done, I'm gonna have a lot more time to do in-depth things and have more kind of behind-the-scenes content and maybe more live chats and kind of ramblings and stuff. Hey, Adam, lol. Black Cat, yeah, I mean the M70 is a great gun, and an SM7 is also a great gun. I mean, you kind of get to the point when an AK is just a good AK, and you're just really getting to fit and finish. And sometimes it's a matter of choice. Some people prefer like blued metal and wood. Some people prefer polymer and more of a paint finish, and neither is a wrong answer. Skinwalker, yeah, we're honestly we're lucky we got Segas and Peppers in the U.S. for as long as we did, and as many varieties as we did. Hey, Joe's or Jose. My speech says Joe's, but I think it's supposed to be Jose. It doesn't read umlauts though. Thank you, man. But why did you retract the message? Everything okay? I'd like to do a C7 clone. Okay, Jessica Simp, putting Kalashnikov at number four seems like a cop out. I'm not gonna lie. That's like half the military guns in the world. Yeah, that's what I was asking. Is it like a Tanto wire poker folder or a burrito folder? I'm also asking because there were some commercial fake folders that yes, Pioneer did that hit the market. So, but they're pretty easy to tell apart from the authentic ones. Brian Hess, yeah, I've got two folders on one's on my 7.6239 Burrell full size, and then one's on my mini Burrell formerly pistol. Burrells are great. I'm glad we got all three in the set. Now it's time to get the MSBS, the Garot. Looking for 7.6254R ammo? Cheap? No. In fact, it's getting to the point now where sometimes the surplus ammo is selling for the same or more as commercial. Yeah, I don't get it either, man. I don't. But yeah, whenever I hear of like a spam can selling, it's crazy money. And of course, if you buy online, you got to pay the shipping and ugh. The nap just to have a hundred folder. I know what you mean. The in pap. It's a good one if you like underfolders. I feel you on the 74 thing. I've been shooting 545 for coming up on a quarter century now. I got into it in the very early 2000s, and the ammo was always kind of hit or miss to get, except for a few years there when all the surplus hit. But even in the past, you get batches in every 6 months or so, but it's been dry. Uh, Powerful prep, so which Stoger? I've shot a lot of Stogers. Mm. No, the cheapest 308 7.62 ammo I found, you're looking about $13 a box now. Yeah, I could believe in a Yugo SKS having a plum receiver. Again, those CZ99s, they're 999s that I had were Zastava Yugo slash Serbian, and they did too. Define the Zor? Hey, good evening to you too. I finally got here, even if I don't know if it was my computer or YouTube to blame. We'll blame Susan. That's just more fun. Yes, I know Susan no longer controls YouTube. I do not care. 800 bones for a 2002. The years really don't matter. They're all fine. But that's a hell of a deal. I've been seeing them for at least 12 to 13 now, and not necessarily unfired. I will say that's about the best year. It seems like the only issues I've seen, maybe with the first year, which would have been 99, and maybe with the last year at the end with the 2003. And these are very small issues, like with the finish on the wood or whatnot. But you get the 2001, 2002 period right in the middle. That seems a sweet spot for the SAR1, SAR2 series. You know, Adam, I know what you say about the Yugo rail. It is different, but it's not always not compatible. It's random what will and won't work. But I've put Russian Romanian scopes on Yugo rails. It's you just have to try it and find out, or just buy a mount that's made for it, and then you don't have to worry. But yeah, before you get discouraged, try it. I'm not saying it will work, but it might. Tusk, are you okay? I know the Nation has edibles, but I feel like I'm taking advantage of you now. Um, You're almost where you think you like are buying a target. I was going to talk about that in a minute too, about the Patreon perk. I will post it over there soon. Uh, the DCI receivers are great. I still have my RPK on one and some other things. You know that's no deck spud, all that stuff, and they're great. They were the best thing going in AKs and ARs for so long, and not just in terms of proper heat treat and all that, but authenticity. Um, and they made receivers for Century for a minute back in the day, and that meant that Century guns were actually on good receivers. How do I feel about Kalashnikov USA these days? You know, they've been kind of quiet. Did say hey to them last month. I don't have any negative feelings. My guns, I've got the 103 folder, the 104, and the KR9, and all three guns have held up perfectly, and they're nice shooters. They've always been slow in releasing new products though. So, but yeah, kind of neutral. I hadn't really thought about them in a while. So hopefully they will put out something cool this year. Hey Brian, yeah, let me know if there's anything I can do for you. Yep. I suppose, Brian, you spent $5. I paid a guy on a live chat once $100 to take his shirt off and torture the whole stream. I was the only one immune. Honestly, $100 well spent. That gave me laughs for nights. What kind of Russian RPK kit? I assume 7.62, barrel intact. I've actually got. I might have an extra receiver. I don't know. History video on the Desert Eagle. Come on, it's just gonna be a RoboCop video. You know me, right? You see my personal channel. It'll just be RoboCop quotes for the whole video. Honestly, I don't know where to get an ALG trigger. I've never liked them. I don't hate them, but I've never particularly liked the look or the shape. They've not been my thing personally. I want to say this: the MCX, the Spear adopted as the M7, allegedly adopted as the M7, allegedly going to be the next gun. I have so many feelings about all that. No, William, no, that the 308s were pretty much just export, kind of like the 308 Valmets. I'm not going to say a handful might not have walked out onto the battlefield during the Civil War. At that time, they used everything, but no, that was a commercial export product. Yeah, Clark. Actually, I picked up a blade bayonet SKS yesterday at a shop, or the day before, and it's the so-called ghost gun that was made in probably late '56, based on the serial. The one in between the true Sino-Soviet and the standard production uh, 26 guns. It's pretty cool. There's actually a couple of small parts with Russian sickles and stuff on them, but most it's a pretty devoid gun aside from just serial numbers everywhere. There's not really any factory marks. It's pretty cool, and it's a blade too. Skinwalker, another place that bought some of those oddballs, the Grand Army of Fiji. Look it up; it's kind of cool. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's offered by Malat and Kalashnikov Concern. It's on the books, but just no one really adopted it. Last time I checked, no one had actually ever officially adopted the AK 101. Sales have been pretty small batch here and there. Luke, Luke B, I don't I don't want. I'm moving on. And by pet wet, do you mean Doberman? Because he just commented right after you. And honestly, the prices on Mac 90s, this is just me, and I'm probably wrong, but they seem like they've kind of plateaued. They went up and up, and I think they've kind of hit that point. I could be wrong. And of course, they will go up over time, but you have to also factor in inflation. So I think with inflation factored in, you're going to see more or less plateau point. Well, there you go. Yeah, the website sounds like a place to get the AGL trigger. I'll be honest. Sometimes when I want to find something, I go to Google, I type in $ space whatever I'm trying to find, and it actually usually finds them in stock somewhere, if anywhere has them in stock. I think Tusk is shared as edibles with Luke. Huh? What? William Erickson. Arsenal Mac 90? You mean like an Arsenal versus a Mac 90? Huh? Oh boy, yeah, PinDad FNC. I'm gonna tell you this: unless PinDad got approval, and they could have done, to import the FNC semi-auto already, it ain't coming in. Sorry, and I want it, but and maybe they were smart. Maybe they got their ATF approval letter a couple of years ago. Sometimes it takes time, but if they're just hoping to get approval from the ATF, well, as the old saying goes, hope in one hand and shit in the other, and see which one fills up first. As far as the grot, that's a different story because that would probably get imported as a sporter rifle. Although you could bring over a grot pistol. Jumpy Killer QX. Hello. Well, hello there. Yep, Skinwalker, you're absolutely right. For about the last year, the ATF has not been giving approval for any new, larger centerfire pistol, especially that's in a distinctly rifle caliber. You might get away with it in 9 mil or something like that, but 223, 308. Now, anything that was already pre-approved is still good to come in, even new ones. Like if you have approval to import like the WBP mini jack pistol, you could bring as many batches in as you want because it's pre-approved. But any new gun, that's where the problem lies. Who? Century VZ 2008 for 1,000. Me personally, I think they're sold out now, but Atlantic had a real checkpoint, checkmade VZ 58s for like 1,300. Personally, me, Century for 1,000, checkpoint for 13, zero contest. The check gun is absolutely worth 300 bones more. Yeah, thanks for helping him out, Adam. I lived in the 94 2004 ban. I remember some of it, at least the morning parts. Ryan, yeah, that was fun getting on live. I still don't know what the problem was, but better late than never. I even actually checked my email to see if I had like a notification from YouTube saying like they'd done something in my account. I don't know. I don't trust anything anymore. Okay, my speech says your name is Scoits, so hello back to you. I remember when 545 was poverty everything because you couldn't get AR-15s. AR-15s and to some extent the ammo after the Obama election in '08 going into '09. And that's when all that surplus hit, and it got to be such a thing. Anyone remember that Smith and Wesson did an M&P AR-15 in 545? Also, direct impingement and corrosive ammo, not a good mix. I remember those Adams arms too. Remember the AR-57 uppers that took P90, PS90 mags? Seven and six is great ammo. Then again, if you actually get some of the military ball 5.56 and other high end stuff, it's pretty punchy too. Hey, Bingo! Glad you stopped in. So you broke your back. So it sounds like you saw Chris's old videos and went, "That looks fun." Please tell me you weren't like sawing a tree or cutting a tree and fell off a ladder, because that's what happened to him. Yeah, I've been out of traveling out of town on and off for the last 3 weeks or so too. So I really didn't have the time to get on the night, but I felt like I had to. An AUG A3 CQC, less than 4K. Am I missing something? That seems high. Am I out of the loop on AUGs, guys? The 4K for even a C. What am I missing? Well, in that case, Tusk, I'm happy for you to share too. But I also agree. Everyone else, please share too. Everything right now is going to the cabin project, which will let me make more videos. I guess this is as good a time as any to say what's up. And I mentioned it on my personal channel on a black box. I need to see how to do this on Patreon exactly. If I can just make it like a one-time donation thing, or if there's like a monthly thing. But either way, we're doing the range at the cabin, and we're also doing like a shooting shack, shooting pavilion, a gazebo. I was going to open it up for sponsorships. Basically, and this is just roughly speaking, each metal target with hanging, with the frame and everything, chains, about $100. So if someone wants to donate $100, that'll be your target. You can kind of pick the shape. I'm gonna have all the targets custom cut. They're not gonna be off the shelf targets. That's boring. So you can pick within reason what the cutter can do, and frankly within good taste, of course. I think everyone in our community knows that. And you can pick the shape, and we'll have your name and maybe a short saying or message inscribed on it. I was going to put it on the back, but as was stated in the black box when I was asking for suggestions, I might want to flip my targets and shoot the other side later on. So instead, I'll engrave the edge of the target. That was also a suggestion, and I thought it was a great one. So you know who you are. I appreciate that. So we'll engrave the edge with your name, real name, or handle, your pick, and that's for basically roughly $100. But if you can't do $100, I get that. I figure we can do combinations. Let's say $25, and you and three other people get a target, and then the four of you, maybe I'll do five, just so it's not an even number, but 4 to 5, vote on the shape, and then no message because there won't be space, but we can still put your usernames on the target. So still share a target. And on top of that, if you'd like to donate something else, it could go towards the shooting shack, which is obviously going to be several $100s, if not even a few thousand to build. So no donation is going to cover all of that, I know. But if you'd rather donate instead of to the targets to the shack, I'm actually going to have a really nice plaque made that can hang in there. Also, to make it kind of all weather where it can be outdoors, but make it as nice as I can for that. And that way, it'll be in the background of a lot of videos, kind of like while I'm talking or while we're shooting. And once we're on, we can zoom in on it, but at least you'll know that your name's on a plaque in the video. I mean, yeah, I'm doing it because the cabin is expensive. There's no way around that. But also, I thought it would be fun engagement, and at least it's something material. And, at the end of the day, hopefully not for eons to come, if for some reason I had to retire the range or whatever, it could mail you the target at the end of the day. Again, hopefully 20, 30, 50 years later, it's not gonna be. I'm not gonna live that long. But you know what I mean. We would make that as kind of your target or whatever in surrogate. but I'm still kind of workshopping it a little bit. But I've got that more or less nailed down. And when I do, I'll make a full announcement on Patreon. Again, I need to see if they'll let me do like a one-time donation thing. Of course, we could always just do a special thing for super chats on here too. But then again, you know how much YouTube takes on super chats, so probably a better way to do that if you're talking 20, 25, or $100. But I thought that might be fun. I was planning on hanging anywhere from 4 to 6 steel targets at different ranges, and making the shooting shack at least 2 lanes, maybe three. Three would be good in case we have visitors. But it's hard to have more than three bills shooting at once. It gets a little chaotic. But yeah, that was something I was planning on doing. So let me know what you think. Yeah, Jessica sent. I met Max years ago. He's absolutely right. I mean, it actually goes way back. They got. They were keen on that cartridge even before some of the U.S. government were. I mean, there's evidence that they had some as far back as like '62. You know, it's funny. You look at their early prototypes. They literally like pulled 223. Originally, it was known as 222, special and all that stuff. Yeah, evolving from Remington, and they shoved that bullet in a modified 760 by 39 case. The early prototypes are really hilarious. On the Grot, unfortunately, guys, I can't say what I do know. I will say it's not coming out tomorrow. But what I do know from behind the scenes, I'm kind of under NDA with. So, and I'm not gonna say I have all the answers, but I can't really share anything right now. D5, Browning Hellfire, really cool. I've got a Nazi one FN, and then I've got an Argentine that's kind of my shooter, and then I ended up with two of the English ones just because I could never pick which one to sell, and they're both cool. The Hellfire is great. It was kind of the 1911 for the rest of the world. You know, the thing that held the 1911 back from really being successful around the globe was the 45 ACP cartridge. Well, that's a gun made for 9 millimeter, which became kind of the global standard. And of course, it shows that John Browning learned a thing or two. And of course, he had to work around the patents that Colt had. But I think in a lot of ways, it is an improved design. Of course, the magazine system we still use today. That double stack, single feed, staggered mag is still on a lot of handguns to this very day. But it was not the first double stack. That was actually well, one of the first was at least removable was Savage with the 1905 patent with the 1907 gun. But if you think about it, even before that, you had the Mauser C96 broom handle. That was a double stack, just not a removable mag. Sorry if my voice is a little raspy, guys. Hey, Brian. Appreciate you dropping a like. If you're asking about an Arsenal SA-93 or a Chinese Mac 90, oh, absolutely an SA-93. Absolutely. Freaking lootly. Do I think the Tapco trigger mechanism installed on the Zastava? No, no, I don't. But which Zastava? What are we talking about? Catch me up to date exactly. But the Tapco G2s, while not the worst thing ever, they actually did have some issues, especially the hammer. The hammer geometry was a little off. Jessica, I apologize for the ads. But my only control is it asks the frequency. I always set it to quote conservative, which says the fewest number of ads. I try to do you guys right. I don't set it to high ads or even medium, even though that would make me more money. I set it to the lowest ad frequency that YouTube allows me. So I think that's all I can do. Okay, Tusk. At this point, you're just gonna get invited to the cabin itself. How about that? When we get it done, we'll just fly you out. You can hang with us for a couple of days. We can grill steaks, and you can share those edibles too. As far as Fox and BM59, now that I finally have 308 ammo, it kind of all came in at once. I told everyone I was looking for 308 last year, and then within a couple of weeks of each other, like three different people was like, "Hey, you need some?" Yeah. So I got like 400 rounds here, 500 rounds there, 200 rounds here, and so I've stocked it up enough. What we really want to do, and we may just wait till the cabin's done because it's going to be take up a lot of space and time. We don't want to just do the BM59. We want to do a big shoot. You know, AR-10, BM59, M14, G3, SETME, FAL. It's doable, but that's like a whole weekend of work. And we just need the place to like lay out the mags and load them. So probably then at that point. Joe, I feel you on the band. The '89 band, I was still young enough. I didn't really notice, but it was that time. Like if you think about it, between '89 and '94, it just got worse and worse every time you turned around. I, and a lot of manufacturers, yes, Colt, but others too, did a lot of voluntary things, like taking like Colt stopped doing bayonet lugs on their guns, even though they didn't have to. Yeah, it was a rough 5 years. People today that think we're the gun world's in a bad state and all this crap. Nah, 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 son. Nah. Those 5 years, late '80s into the '90s, were the worst. Then we hit the assault weapons ban, and it was bad and stayed bad. But man, when it came off at the end of '04, it's been 20 years of greatness. Oh, WMT, do I have the 57? Yes, I do. But mine's in 7.5, not 308. Pendad applied for the BM59? Adam, yeah, Chris won't shut up about the mutant, but I don't have an opinion. That's more of a Fox thing. It's just not military, it's not my thing. And yeah, I mean, I've got enough kind of keeping me busy that I'm not looking for things to do. So unfortunately, I just don't have an opinion. Oh, in the HK USP video, that back brace wasn't from the fall. That was because part of the bedroom play was him being a gimp. Okay, Bingo. First off, I'm wondering why you took your gun into the doctor's office. I mean, I do too. I'm just kind of wondering. Secondly, I remember falling on the ice back in college. Me and my guide dog, his name was Brandy. I didn't name him. That's just his name. But it was icy, and we always went out the back door, and there was a porch there, and because the bus stop was back there, and so I turned around to lock the door. He and I both fell flat on our asses. I lost my two legs. He lost his four. And he just looked over at me like, we agreed this didn't happen, right? And yeah, so that ice was so slippery. A golden retriever lost footing. Yeah, I know the CQC. I remember it, but I don't. I mean, it's up to you. It's. I know Henry Ninehole really likes his. Uh, what do I prefer? You know, if you notice, I really like the AKS 74U, but I've never been a crank guy. So I prefer the AK 105. I really do. I love that length. The AK 74M is really cool, but man, that 12.5 inch barrel with that booster, that's just perfect. That's just the right size. So, yep, 105 all the way. Cleaver, how do I feel about Sega conversions? I mean, they're good, and I remember those too. I actually bought one. It was 308 back, I think it was 2003. It was still during the ban. I know that. 02, 03. It came in with the hunting handguard. It had an AK-74 muzzle brake welded on. Since it was during the ban, I never popped the weld to see if it was threaded or not. Probably was. No cleaning rod under the barrel. Obviously, no bayo lug. Um, it took it took the 308 mags, so yeah. But they also had some 62 and 223s, and they took standard mags. And then I had a factory black kind of shiny pistol grip. Trigger group was of course in the forward position, and then the buttstock was kind of weird because it wasn't a military buttstock. It actually matched the handguard. It was that same kind of material, and I had a plastic butt plate, and I had the small sling swivel at the base of the buttstock. So it was a factory sporter stock, and I saw those over in Russia later. So they were kind of strange, and there's extremely little info about those on the internet. I think only that one batch came in. My question is, how the hell those get in? Pistol grip should have disqualified them, but it didn't look like the furniture was put on here, but maybe they did. Maybe they shipped them over with a Dragonov stock, and then the importer put on the Russian stock and grip. But they were definitely Russian. They weren't U.S. Honestly, on conversions, though, just to answer that, do it right or don't do it at all. I'd rather see a Sega in its stock hunter configuration than like a half-ass grind job. I've just seen so many clutch together conversions. So if you're gonna do it right and use proper Russian parts. Thing is, a lot of the Bulgarian parts people want to use, sometimes they'll fit, but keep in mind the AK-74, the original, is not the same spec as an AK-74M slash AK-100 series. Parts can still interchange, but they're not exactly correct. So I either do it right or just enjoy it as a hunter. I remember those 20, whatever, 20.5, 21-inch barrels, Segas and Vepers. There was even a military gun supply did one where they put a bipod on, but since there wasn't quite enough room to get an RPK bipod, they actually put it in front of the front set base. Yeah, it was as fugly as you're imagining. Oh, they also did back then an RPK, these are Romanian, an RPK 22. Those were kind of cool. They were Romanian, so nothing to do with Segas, but it's got me thinking that it's about the same time. They had the clubfoot stock and a bipod. Those are the two RPK features because, fucking newsflash, you don't need a 1.5 millimeter receiver when you're shooting 22 long rifle. It was cool and they were a lot of fun. Unfortunately, the mags are still just 10 rounds, so the fun was short lived. Bingo, I mean, it's better than the doctor saying it's not distracting him, I guess. A C8 A1 clone would also be cool. I will say that U.S. manufacturers have been, AR makers have been told and even talked about doing the C7s and C8s, but in the end, it just never seems to pan out, unfortunately. As far as a SBR Bryn, that's cool. I really like my Bryn too. Of course, I went with the 11-inch 223 version, 5.56, but they're great guns for what they are. Ryan, that is absolutely normal. AK parts tend to, especially virgin parts, tend to be oversized. Yeah, that's just whenever you're putting on an AK stock, take your time, get your sandpaper, get your like a file out, go slow, test fit. But yeah, that is absolutely, even with arsenals and stuff, that is absolutely normal thing. No, Ryan, I actually spent quite a bit of time on the phone with Atlantic talking about the 10-2, and no, there's no difference. I mean, I went over a couple of things in that video, but nah. I mean, and the thing is too, not all AES-10Bs imported in the past were identical to each other. Some of them had a smooth cover, some ribbed, different stocks, definitely different bipods, carry handles, no carry handles. The gas block and front sight base have changed a little bit over time, and then back and forth. So no, whatever variations we see in the 10B2s could be found in the original 10Bs. From what I understand, the reason for the name change was just import stuff with the paperwork. You know how that goes. Yep, on the 89 magazine. It's the same old thing. I remember hearing that as a kid. That was a big deal in the 88 election. I remember they were saying around where I grew up that don't vote Dukakis, he'll take our guns. So nothing new now. And then immediately after getting into office, what did George H. Bush do? Sign that executive order. I mean, he did it under the guise of being tough on drugs. That was the kind of the way that it was done, but nevertheless, it was a pretty big ban on a lot of guns. Well, cash poor, gun rich, not so much broke, right? Shit, with the economy and inflation, you might be better off putting your money in guns. BM-59 calling it SP1. Yep, this is the 20th anniversary for the SR Opens ban. I'm sure we'll do some kind of video, and everyone else will too. Yep, also means it's been off twice as long as it was on. Tusk, you're smoking everyone else. As far as the double stack pair ordnance, I've had them in the past. I liked them. I never did keep one. I had some of the ones that were still made up in Canada, uh, but I liked them. You know me though, 1911s aren't my biggest wheelhouse. I don't hate them, but there's so many. That's actually a J Row question. He's the 1911 guy around here. I mean, it doesn't hurt that he worked at Wilson Combat for like 10 years. I guess it's kind of hard to work there and not get that rubbing off on you. But even back when we were in college, he liked 1911s. The 92, 93 Sporter from Springfield. Which Sporter? They had a few. Yeah, if you want to do like a German LMG, one tip I'll give you on the German guns, for whatever reason, the Germans like to run the slant muzzle brake on their RPKs. So if you do a German clone of one of them, I'd put a slant brake on it. That's about my contribution. Yep, you're absolutely right. There's that generation, Jessica Sam. It was, when 223 and small diameter was coming in and the AR-18's influence, it was when polymer was coming. But yeah, definitely a generation behind what we have today. Really, the difference is you don't see really rails on them, and if you do, they were often proprietary or at the very most Weaver rails back then. Really don't see 1913s quite yet. They're really close, but not quite in action. I'm with you on the C7 versus the M16A2. A lot of the decisions made with the A2, I completely agree with, but the fancy pants rear sights that didn't need to be standard, and going to burst mode. Man, Black 90s are cool, and I understand why you miss yours, but at current prices, I think I'd just look for a good deal on a pre-ban. There are so many Chinese AKs out there that if you look around hard, checking gun shops, auctions at different, once in a while you find a pre-ban, or even like I did with my underfolder, one of the Cotton Customs guns. You can find that. I mean, I paid the same for the Cotton Customs gun as you would for a Mac 90, and the only feature it doesn't have is the wings of the bayonet lug are shaved off. The base of the lug where the cleaning rind goes through is still there, but the wings are off. I could give two shits. Not having those wings saved me like $1,000. I'll live. That's a good trade to 104 FR. My God, those things have gone nanners. They're well north of 2,000. I think the last one I saw brought nearly three. Very smart trade. And I like the 104. I really do. But again, people didn't buy them. I remember sitting in an Italian restaurant with Jay, and they were on sale for Black Friday for $9.99, not dealer, but retail for customers. And they still didn't sell out immediately. People just they just didn't want them when they were gettable. Yeah, I would trade you a Mac 90 for a 104. Shit, I'll give you my transitional gun. Yep, I'm in Arkansas. Yep, ammo and land, guns, whatever. I'd rather have than cash. Cash these days. Plus, the IRS knows the cash you got. They don't have to know about ammo and stuff. Unfortunately, they do know about the land we have. Yeah, as much as the 104 is valuable now, I've never been for a second tempted to sell mine. You know, mine's sporting plum furniture. It's my plum gun. Yep, and I double checked on the barrel of the AES 10B. I mean, I put it up against mine and it looked right. I got the tape measure out, and then I actually even talked with Atlantic. And did Atlantic ever make the change on their website? Matt and Blaine said they would because they're usually good about being correct info. Plus, it'll help the sales because if it were 21, yeah. But IO did the same crap. IO Royal Tiger when the Vepr 1V came in, they put it on their website, fixed stock 16-inch barrel. I got it in. And I was like, guys, this is a 23 and a quarter barrel in the stock folds. They didn't give a shit. That was the problem with IO Royal Tiger. They just didn't care. And I can't respect that. Getting things wrong, I mean, I do that all the time. I get things wrong. Like on that Zastava underfolder video, I said the handguards were surplus. I think you can understand my confusion, but then obviously I was wrong. But I will correct it because I want to have correct info. I don't want to be just right. I'm gonna, be truthful. By the way, that Zastava underfolder, that was a lot of fun to shoot. Was Colt ever great? Nah, no. Um, I don't know what Colt's doing. Jessica Simp, the defender I like, my favorite is the new agent. I love that crazy, trough sight and how small it is. I think it was just kind of cool, especially if you put like a laser grip on it. But yeah, I like the new agent. Yeah, I know the Marines wanted a target rifle, but who gives a shit what the Marines want, right? I actually talked about that in the big AR video, but yeah, the evolution of the A2 and the Army, the Marines involvement, it is such a thing of back and forth. It was a cluster. The SAR 4800, yeah, that was an Imbel Type 3 receiver. Yes, it was forged, 21-inch barrel. Although I think they did have some. They definitely had in the pre-ban era some 18-inch Bush rifles, as they called them. I don't know if they continue that on, but I wouldn't be shocked if they put some shorter barrels in the 4800 too. But no, those were great buys. They really were, and they were easy to convert back from the thumbhole stock too. I'm pretty serious too, Tusk. Like once the cabin's done and whatnot, I don't mind having guests come out. I mean, it's going to have effectively three bedrooms, so space for everyone to stretch their legs. Howdy, neighbor. Now Mr. Rogers is in my head. Yes, they did. Those 104 FRs and the 104 URs. They were just authentic. AKS 74s, AKSU 74s. Those are the only real imports we've gotten in that config because by the time we started getting stuff out of Russia, they'd already moved on to the AK 100 series or the RPK 200 series. Not that that's a ding against it. You know, I love my SGO 31, but if you want like a classic Afghan war gun, you're really better off going with the arsenals. And of course, that goes for the SLR 105 too. As far as imports, of course, there's lots of good kit builds. Anyone else want to toss in a few bucks beside Tusk? I really appreciate Tusk, but you know, I don't want you to have regrets after Nine Inch Nails and edibles wear off. Although I've done the same thing. As far as import AKs, yeah, I'm gonna go Poland. I would definitely say Poland is over Arsenal right now, be it FB Ratum or WBP. And I like that they're not really competing directly with each other. If you want a modern barrel, okay, FB. If you want more of a classic AKM, WBP. Yeah, Jessica, Ian's not wrong. I like the underfolders, and certainly after a decade of the stupid assault weapons ban, we were cool to get them. But I prefer the fixed stocks too. I don't own that many underfolders at all. Honestly, CC couldn't. I mean, Colt couldn't do anything but improve. I mean, it's not a tall thing. As far as the VHS with the 20 barrel, yeah, I did like 3 videos on mine. I really like it. Well, I was gonna let you touch my collection, but if you're gonna soil yourself, I'm blind. My nose is important to me. Just let me know when you're gonna do it so I can wear a fast face mask. I think I still have some of those N95 masks around here somewhere. Going on. Yeah, my wife's supportive too. I mean, of course, guns are our livelihood, so like, and she knows I'll sell personal guns when I need to. Like, I'm selling some for the cabin and put up my Valmet 308 last week. Not one I wanted to sell. It's a great gun, but on the other hand, it's not military, and needs must. It'll go to pay for an air conditioner. Oh yeah, Poland's. I mean, go look at the original Mausers out of Poland from the 20s. Of course, the Vis 35, the P 35 from the 30s, and the Polish resisted like hell under Nazi occupation in the 40s. They put a lot on the line, and much as Mr. Putin wants to say that Poland egged Germany on to start the war, that's complete horseshit. And Poland did nothing wrong. Hashtag. The only reason that Russia wants to change history there is people forget Germany invaded from the west. Their ally, Soviet Union, the commies, invaded from the east. They both invaded Poland. I mean, nominally, Russia went in to help and defend the Polish. That's their common tactic for invading anyone. Oh, we're not invading you. We're here to liberate you. Bring, well, wouldn't be democracy, but it'd be communism. But yeah, that's the same old line over and over again. I love how plucky Poland is. And it's simultaneously in a great spot and a horrible spot in Europe that has meant it's been invaded so many times. Ted Marshall Tantle, cool. I'm assuming he built it. The tunnel's cool. For a while, I think there are actually more tunnels in America than in Poland now. I feel pretty secure in saying that. Yeah, horse and buggy. To be fair, a lot of nations were horse and buggy still in the 30s because military spending was pretty low. Keep in mind too, Poland was a young nation. At least that iteration of Poland. Jessica, I mean, Ian's allowed to be wrong. M1 Grand. I'll take the SVT 40. Nah, I'm just teasing. They both have things. And the M1 Grand, when you factor in the history and what it did, that it fought on the beaches in different continents and went through a bunch of crap, for the day and time, it was a very solid gun. It would have been better if they'd gone with the 276 Pedersen cartridge, and I think even they knew that. But logistically, they stuck with 30-06, and I understand why too. I mean, the Sim 7's already gone up in value. So will it go up any further? Not really. I mean, they're still bringing them in. Of course, if there's another ban, it will. Keep in mind, though, that there are tens of thousands in America now. If you're going to buy one, I'd buy one to shoot it. If it goes up in value later, great, bonus. If it doesn't, well, you bought it to shoot. Oof, an FAL for 2,000, 2,500. If you mean authentic import, no. I think all the imports in good shape are just over that price point now. I think you'd be stuck doing a build, and even then, it might get hard to get a quality receiver. I will say though, DSA's original forged receivers are great. If you have to build on one of those, don't feel at all bad. Hey, Buster, see there you go. Appreciate it. This is your first one too. Hey, once I get out there and start doing live streams from the cabin, you'll actually probably get to see me get drunk on stream. That will be a thing. Agreed. Yeah, underfolders are kind of more. I mean, in the military, they made sense. I mean, being compact and all that. But for us as civilians, it's mostly about the looks. I'm not gonna lie. The side folder is more practical. Skinwalker, you're not wrong. Ryan, hit me up on email. I'll make you a good deal on a Zastava underfolder. I've got one left in the store. I want to move it. I do like them, but I know what you meant about Romanian. Back in the day, when kind of the heyday of Qger, I was buying. I haven't picked up a new Romanian gun in a long time, only because there haven't been any new models. But by God, if they did like a Draco in 545 or an AES 10 or the AES 2, I guess it would be in 545 RPK, I would be all over that. Kendall is definitely different and it has an interesting development history too. I mean, when you think about 74 variants, there aren't a ton. You have the original Russian guns, and the East Germans were very close copies of those, and the Bulgarians were too. Then you've got the Romanian guns, and then really just have the Tantal out of Poland because the Onyx, I mean, they made a few, but can you really say the Onyx was ever put into full production? I wouldn't. Ian's a left-handed shooter because he's evil. Don't you know lefties are the spawn of Satan? No, I'm just teasing. I don't say anything bad about him. I like Ian just fine, but still gonna tease lefties. Yep, and what makes the FB firearms still great is their QC. Their quality control is still very high. 38M. Yeah, yeah. They had a lot going on. Shame they weren't able to field test it against the Nazis. Yeah, bingo. On the mini reels, I picked up a few last year in the summer when they were on sale for $1,000 because no one was buying them. Called up, hit up Arms of America, worked out a deal, and I just squirreled them away. And then I was really just going to sell a couple of them again to generate money and stick a couple more back. But once I put up a few, people kept emailing me wanting them. I sold everyone I had. I just when people called and I could tell they really wanted them. I I just couldn't say no. Now I made money on them, but I didn't skin them alive either. I still tried to sell them for just a couple of bucks and move it along. But I wish I'd bought more last year now. But that's how it goes. And I knew it would. I look back from the very beginning of the me burial pistol, and I've been an advocate for it. The new DSAs are fine. I agree they're not like the old ones or the pre-vans. On the other hand, I've also held a bunch of Century guns. Still better than those. Ray 67. No, I haven't been looking for an RG foul. I've got the four I want. I've been looking for one more FAL. Nothing too specific, but I just haven't found the right gun yet. I really don't have any thoughts on Brandon. I'm not in Texas, so. Yeah, when the PM63Cs, the semi-autos came in, even though it was Pioneer, blah blah, I still thought it was cool. It was too cool not to pick one up. Yeah, I'm not in those embellished and fancy furniture WBPs myself. Yeah, I did see some of that Hornady 545 and the Buckaroo. Yes, I've been impressed with not only WBP's products but also their company, how they run it, what they want to do, and their willingness to learn and change. Ah, man, I would be super surprised if PSA took enough time to make their barrel profile that correct and original. That's just not how they do things. They have a very good enough attitude towards um, their guns. I just maybe it'd work, but my instinct is you'd run into some problems. Well, Arsenal refuses to sell stamp guns, but look, at the end, their stamp guns were the same cost as their mill guns. Plus, you know my theory about the subcontractor. I don't know, it was kind of weird. That's up to you on the milled Mac 90. That's about what I've sold them for. I've had a couple in recent years, milled Mac 90s. Keep in mind that most all of them were slant cut receivers. So, not that that's a deal killer, but just keep it in mind. My email is ozarkbeararms at gmail. OZARKBEAR arms at gmail.com. I just can't put it in the descriptions anymore because of YouTube policy. I mean, 500,000 for a machine gun, but then again, some rare guns have gone for 1 million. You know, more historical than the actual gun. You get into that level. Look at the abstract art that people pay money for. Yeah. I think sometimes those rich people buy that kind of shit for more of a tax write-off than anything else. I'm not even know that the stamp guns were fully subcontracted out. I'm just wondering if maybe the receivers were. Like the receivers were sent to the Arsenal factory and then put together by Arsenal. There's something odd going on because you look at their website, they didn't have any stamped guns at all on their military select fire website. It was all milled all the time. So why then did they have just stamped guns just for the civilians? Buster, I would definitely take the new Zastava over the Wasser 10 underfolder. Not that the Wasser is bad, but the Zastava is the double locking AKMS style, whereas the Wasser is just the single AKS style. Nick, I mean, I'm not saying abstract art's bad. I'm just saying it's definitely subjective. What someone does like and someone, it's like beer. I love Guinness beer. Some people absolutely fucking hate it and don't know how I drink it. Different tastes. And what a boring world it would be if we didn't. At Tusk, I thought for a second you wrote favorite band song, like illegal song. uh, okay, I have to say Smashing Pumpkins just because it goes back to my youth and I was like known for literally having the largest Smashing Pumpkins record collection in Arkansas, if not the whole country. But I will say that Nine Inch Nails was also in my top five. David Bowie was probably number two. And an odd one, Gary Newman. I fucking love Gary Newman. And I love his life story too. Anyone out there that has not read into Gary Newman, there's actually a great documentary on him on YouTube that came out just a couple of years ago. But an amazing life story and works for me because he also was born with a disability and overcame it. He also was a pilot and really pioneered music back in the 70s a lot. And today actually makes music with his kids, which is just fucking super wholesome. I don't know. This is cool. I don't know if Russian parts were used in 104 FRs just because they came out about a decade after the 105s, but I definitely know 105s. What had happened is some outside of Russia had 5.45 guns. Remember, it wasn't that popular, and Bulgaria was there, so they were sold or given to Bulgaria, and then they were just put into storage because right after communism fell, they didn't fucking want 5.45. They themselves tried to go to 5.56 as quick as they could in the 90s, just like Poland. And then when they were doing the semi-autos, they pulled them out. Now some parts are definitely still Bulgarian, but other parts definitely, at least to some extent, originated in Russia. How do I feel about the KS12? We did a review on one a few years ago. I don't own one just because I've got a Sega 12 and a Viper 12 and had them for years before, but I liked it. It was a good gun. I found that it was a little less ammo sensitive than my Russian, so in some ways it might be better. But I thought it was a fun gun. I would probably still take one over a Lynx or one of the other Chinese copies. Thank you, Buster. Yeah, German beer is also good. I like, and this is kind of getting like the abstract art. I like a lot of like small craft brewery beers too, local area beers. We've got a lot of those around here. Pepper 79. What? Sorry, I've been doing this a while. My brain's starting to slip. Oh yeah, auction houses, live auctions are fucking nuts. Oh yeah, the AR-15 is definitely practical. Unfortunately, when the ban came down in '86, there weren't a ton of lowers on the market, so you kind of stuck with some odd lower choices. Oh, thanks for the recommend, Thomas Dobie. Yeah, I used to have a link and an email. YouTube made us get rid of that years ago. Well, let's go with you saying a double rivet 104. Like I said, I don't know that none of them had Russian parts, but we had dozens, if not 100, 104s come in, and I looked, and none of those I checked had the double rivet trunnion, but it's always possible. And yeah, music's another one of those things, Jessica, that it's subjective, and no one's wrong. Like, you can't say, oh, you like this, and you're a bad person. I hate fucking music snobs. Like, around here, country music, especially like top 40 is so popular. Not my thing, but I'm not going to dog on someone if it is. We like what we like. And I'm going to tell you this, the one universal, even if people say they hate it, when people have been drinking and midnight rolls around, every single person in the room will join in to sing Don't Stop Believing by Journey. With drinking involved, after midnight, everyone's a Journey fan. Prove me wrong. Also, play Johnny Cash Hurt, and I dare you to have anyone who doesn't get a little misty eyed. Oh, yeah, Russian SKSs have really surprised me too. I mean, they always were a little more than the others, but in recent months or year, they've gone. Shiner's good. Uh, Coors Light is a beer. Yeah, I agree with you on the Yugo SKS. It felt like it was more common for a while just because of the current import batch. But as they dry up, you look at how many were made in each country, and yeah, about 10 to 1 Yugo versus Russian. And there are some cool Yugo variants. Of course, you got the original 59, the 5966. You've got not just the 5966A1, but actually there's two variations of night sights, and there are actually three variations of grenade spigot on different ones. Three different types of wood come to mind. There's even that one weird kind of long barrel version of the 59. PBR. Now I'm thinking of huffing some nitrous. Oh yeah, the stamped receiver Chinese SKS. Those are actually quite rare. I looked and looked, and there was speculation. It doesn't seem like the stamped SKS was ever put into military service in China. It seems like it was a late thing, yada yada, but never say never. Yes, the Albanian, I do have one of those. They're cool. Um, Boy, they're very variable. Some of them are in great shape, some of them are dog shit. A friend has a East German, a DDR. Keep hoping one day maybe someone will find a cache of those and bring them in. It wouldn't be from former Germany, or East Germany, but it would be somewhere else they sold them to. Yeah, the KBI 2000Ms. Yeah, they're not the easiest to make take standard mags, and I would definitely agree getting someone that knew what they were doing. But unfortunately, I don't know who could do that now. I don't really use AK gunsmiths. You probably noticed. My AK collection's been pretty stable, and the ones I picked up in the last few years have all been just straight up imports. I haven't done a lot of customization. Let's see. Philip, your Wasser 1063. Well, it was dated 81. I actually did a full video on the Wasser 1063s. Google that on this channel. It goes really into depth. Basically, the Wasser 1063 came about because in '05, the second Bush administration, well, the ATF operating under them decided that barrels can't come in with parts kits. Whole thing, whatever. So to kind of get around that and keep importation, what Kuger and Romania started doing was taking service rifles and building them as semi-autos over there. So it's kind of a Kuger factory kit build. That's why you'll see original dated parts. But of course, they're on a current, 2007 to 2013, when those came in. You'll have a new Wasser receiver, and it had a fresh new chrome line cold hammer forged barrel put in. So good barrel, good receiver, no problems there. And then the rest of your parts were a service gun from '81. And that was kind of a transitional period when Kuger was still using some old milled parts and whatnot. But soon they started they're starting to do like more cast parts too. So kind of an early transitional gun. Yeah, no shit on those 10 round FUG mags. They are not out there. They were always hard to find. Don't worry. You could go back 20 years and still have a hard time finding them. Funny thing about the 1063s, because of the date on the trunnions, people sometimes try to think they're CNR because, some of them were 60s dated. And no, they are not. You can't go by that. That's not the manufacturing date. That's just the date of the original kit. It's cool they have it. They didn't deface them, but no. Philip, I wish I did have some M57 triggers, but I don't. And just like a lot of Zastava stuff, they can be a little different spec than others. Not always, but yeah. Unfortunately not, man. I wish I could help. John Denver, leaving on a jet plane. What tools do you need to change SKS barrels? I mean, standard. It's a standard gun. Unless some of the Chinese were pinned in, but the early Chinese and Russians, they're just screwed into a receiver. So you need the same tools like if you went to rebarrel a Mauser. Um, it's not something you really want to do unless you know what you're doing. And of course, after you change barrels, you'll have to worry about headspace. Megadeth. Oh, I'm very average. It's never one of my top bands, but I've got a couple of their records. Jessica, yeah, if you're looking at kind of non-production guns, there were tons of prototypes of different things. There really were. Yep, I did a full video on the KUSA 103. Sure did. I did one non-shooting for the fixed stock, but when the folder came out, we actually did a couple of shooting videos on it. They're still relevant. Nothing bad's happened. It hasn't blown up on us. Still reliable. Yep, you're absolutely right. Especially in SKS is not always the easiest thing. Again, I would not swap barrels on an SKS probably ever, frankly. It doesn't sound worth it, frankly. But that's just me. Yep, RIP. Yep. A lot of those old singers are gone. I think the Uzi Pro pistols have already shot up. One of my favorite little 9 mil gats. Sure, Philip. Yeah, I agree. The Uzi Pro might be a little nicer if it was slightly longer, but the barrel is. I put a slightly longer one of mine, so it's okay. It's kind of the same barrel length as a full size Glock, so you get a little bit better accuracy just because it's a fixed barrel versus tilting, dipping. But then again, full size Uzis and micro Uzis were a thing, kind of fill in the thing. Thank you, Philip. I was actually referring to Blue Velvet, but yeah, that too. I remember once I thought my refrigerator was talking to me, but don't do drugs, kids. I would never, in Minecraft, isn't that what they say? Whippets and the cracker they came in on. Hey, Ray, thank you. And hey, if what I say about guns doesn't help, at least I'm good. A good cure for insomnia, right? Or if that doesn't work, the whippets will probably do something. I can understand wanting to replace a bulge barrel. What we're saying is it's just not easy. Once you get it screwed in, It's just not easy because that gun isn't from that era when things are frequently rebarreled. Really, hmm. Ryan, for some reason I've had quite a few Romanian SKSs come through my hands. I don't know why. I mean, not as common as you though, of course, but I don't know. I'd have to look at my logbook, but I've had maybe 2 dozen. By the way, I think the Romanian SKS might be the least produced version. Like, if you actually look at absolute production numbers, it was maybe the smallest outside of maybe Albania. Again, I don't have my notes in front of me, but it's small. Whipped cream. That's a good idea if you don't get under 16 inches, if the bulge is out in the 4 inch part. Or you could always cut it down to like 14 and put on an extension if you can. Yeah. Oh, Tool. I saw Tool live and Perfect Circle live. That was a hell of a show. Red Wing, yeah, about my favorite guns. Like I said earlier, it's really not really something for a live. I have to sit and think of that. That's more of a video thing. Maybe I'll do it. If someone wants to sponsor me doing a video on that, that'd be cool. It's such a wide open thing, you know. It's like saying, "What's your favorite food?" Oh, it's just what mood are you in? Yeah, bingo. It's sad the drug abuse rate and or suicide rate of musicians. It really is. A lot of them, a lot of them are tortured souls, and it's a lot of times not even their fault. And especially considering how much they give to the world, be it from pop music that just makes people happy to really deep music, to someone like Lou Reed, who maybe never became hugely popular but influenced a whole generation of other musicians. No, the SLR 107CR is not a good 104 clone. But I say that because I'm me and I'm a little like obsessive compulsive. I've done a video explaining why. Again, more than I want to talk about now as I'm getting tired, but Arsenal never made the AK 100 series. They made the AK 74 series. So all of their stuff is kind of inspired by the 70s, early 80s style, not the later Ishmael Kalashnikov concern style. Now, is the 107 CR a good gun in general? Mostly yes. There's a few reports of issues, but mostly yes. Get the 107 CR if the money's right. How much are you seeing it for sale for? Yep, the SKS. I've done videos in the past. The whole Simonov and Tokarev thing, starting with the AVS 36. I mean, it started before, but adoption. You had the 36, the SVT 38, the SVT 40, the PTRS 41, the back and forth, of course, the SK. It's very fascinating. Yeah, I don't think I'd want an Uzi Pro with an 8 inch barrel. I think if I did, I'd do six. And the micro tended to have right at a 5 inch barrel as a general rule. I've done a couple of black box videos on here, bingo. Not backwards thinking about wanting the remaining furniture, but what's going to happen? You're going to find remaining furniture, and then the guns won't be available. Anytime you do something, you need to buy what's available right now. For example, I picked up because it just came to me. a South African R1 grenade sight for an FAL. I don't have an R1 parts kit yet, but I've got it in the drawer when I need it. I don't know where Fox is tonight, honestly. Yep. Funny enough, I was actually talking about the PTR 32 with someone earlier today and the finished trials that the HK 32 is in. The best ammo, whatever you can get. With 7.62 beggars can't be choosers. I have found that sometimes hollow point doesn't feed in them. Sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. So I try to get FMJ. Yeah, you might also Apex could have the Romy furniture. Arms of America had some years ago. I don't know. It's out there. Oh yeah, the 107 CR would definitely bring 2,000 now. Easy. I think it's Jeremy. My speech says Jeremy, but I appreciate that. Yeah, Fozzie, I mean, it's sad, but that's the nature of surplus. It all dries up. I mean, it's a fixed supply. It's sold here relatively cheap, usually, and when it's gone, it's gone. Yeah, the original Thompson is about the same size as the Colt M4, but it weighs about twice as much. Is the real 5.56 a shred? Honestly, I wouldn't put any import that you want on the back burner. I really wouldn't. Any morning, an executive order can shut that off. Any morning. Even if imports are here in 10 years, it's going to be like the Sam 7 SF. 10 years ago, it was $1,300. Today, it's 2,000. So even if they're still here in 10 years, they only go up in price. I appreciate you greatly, Tusk, and yeah, shoot me an email sometime and whatnot. Ah, I finally caught up with the chat. I have to admit, my speech was really cooperative tonight. That was just throwing it to the bottom. Alrighty, guys. I'm gonna go get a drink of water. It's 10:45. Didn't plan on staying this late, but of course we got a late start. To make it roughly a full 2 hours, I'm gonna call it in 15 minutes. So I'm gonna go get a drink of water, stretch my legs for a second. 15-minute warning, and then any questions you got? Anything you want to mention, or any donations you want to do before the night's over? Give me like a minute or two, and I'll be back, and we'll have about 15 minutes and call it a night. And again, my email, just in case, is ozarkbeararms@gmail, OZARKBEARARMS@gmail.com. And my phone number is, do you think I'm fucking stupid to say my phone number live on YouTube? No. But I'm happy to chat on the phone if we have gun things over, first setting up an email thing. But yeah, give me a couple to go get a water and be right back. Wish I had some Guinness. Alrighty, I'm back now. See what you guys came up with my brief absence. You know what I need? I've seen some people that do live streams. I guess it's probably not on YouTube though, where they have the text to speech that reads. I mean, mine reads, but I have to manually do it. If I had something that could auto read, that would be nice. Yep, the Thompson was 200 bones back in the 20s. Of course, inflation. Then again, saying M4 is 600 is a little misleading. Even even a military M4 isn't in military prices isn't quite 600 now. Now, can you get a commercial one for that? Yeah. Uh, Madi, honestly, the word on 5.56 AKs, I'm going to be 100% straight. I have no experience with the Pioneer 5.56, so I just can't tell you. Um, as I've said in videos a lot, if I were to get one myself, if I had a little money, I would get an FB for real. If I was on more of a budget, I would get us a Stava M90. That's just me. Skinwalker, yeah, I would honestly love to have an M3 semi-auto, but I've never found a good deal on the parts kit, and none of the ones that were made, like the Broadhead, those are crap. And I had a Valkyrie, and it was well made, but then its price went crazy to the point I just like I can't keep it. It sold for like 2 grand, and that was at a time when Uzis were going for 1,000. It just didn't make sense. So, oh well. I'd snag any ammo if you found a good deal right now. My cups always have a ball over them. Obvious reasons why. Yeah, the Sim 5 thing was a shame because I was so excited. Again, mine that I got in 2020 is fine, absolutely fine. But I don't know, the whole thing and the response and what happened, and it's just, yeah. Yeah, the grease gun has a lower cyclic rate. Then again, it's not select fire. The Thompson was. The grease gun was just chug, chug, chugging along. It was the American Stin. Yep, Buster. I really like my Ace Rock and Lock. It's kind of the best. I was fine with the original Royal Ace 5.56 pistol, took AR mags, but the Rock and Lock was just kind of cool and different. Yeah, I mean, I love 74s, but there aren't any really new guns coming out. Haven't been a lot of cool parts kits in a while. The ammo's getting hard to find. Heck, even just the mags, not just Bakelites, but even like black or whatever Arsenal mags are getting kind of spendy. Bingo, I completely agree. That's why it's getting hard for me to do videos. It's like what is new out. For one thing, I don't feel like there's that much, and what is out, just like that like the Banshee or the Mutant or what any, it's fine, but it doesn't interest me. And at current prices, you can't just go out and buy something on a lark. Like you really need to want it, and I just don't. But I want to, yeah, is it just me? Is it just you? Or is it kind of everyone? And I think it might be kind of everyone because I've been having a lot better luck at the store selling used guns than I have new. Lance, I don't consider the Galil an AK because I feel like that's a little bit insulting towards the gun. Now, I'm being very kind of tongue in cheek here. I think that IWI later made enough changes, and since they never had a license to make the AK, and it's copied from this, copied from that, I think it's different enough that it's not an AK, but it's AK inspired, and it uses the Kalashnikov operating system, but it's not a actual Kalashnikov. Kind of like how we don't consider all the guns inspired by the AR-18 to be AR-18 clones; they're just inspired by it. The Galil Ace is cool. I mean, with all the variants, the 323, 556, 76239, 762 NATO, 308, even the 545. There's a lot of cool options. Different barrel lengths, 18 and a half, 8. Yeah, well, there is an 18, but 8 and a half, 13 and a half, 16, 18 on some. There's a lot there. This wasn't me, but a friend put a 308 Galil Ace pistol up on Gunburger. Just, regular auction. Sucker sold for $2,800. Thoughts on AR barrels? Like what? I mean, not sure. I mean, obviously the HP profile for like the 920, 921 is working out better in long run, but then again, the original M4 profile was done to save weight. I do think it's kind of silly. The A2 is heavy out front. There's a couple of limited helps there, but really, it would have been better if it was heavier under the handguard and near the chamber. But kind of strange choice. I still kind of really like the original pencil barrel. Oh yeah, Ryan, I'm about to turn it out too. I like to give everyone a notice before just leaving, especially since we had such a chaotic start. I really appreciate everyone kind of bearing with me on that. Again, sorry. Again, it doesn't look like it was my fault, but if it was, I own it. I'll take responsibility. But I think it was really just YouTube being YouTube. But yeah, again, if anyone has any final questions or wants to make a super chat or something, that would be greatly appreciated. Okay, I don't get the ace being heavy thing. I just don't. The ace doesn't feel heavy to me. Is something wrong with me? I mean, I'm not a tall guy at all. I've never found the ace heavy. You might think 5.56 AKs are dumb, but the Brill sir has served well in Poland. They've had over 100,000 in service. The Galil's service history is a little more convoluted, but yeah. And of course, Serbia's used the M21 for quite a while now. Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna get a 5.56 AK, personally, and this is just me, I try to get ones that are actually derived from a military gun. But that's more me just being gun shy. Because back in the day, for example, KUSA did that with the SAR-3. They tried to just take basically a 5.45 gun and put a 5.56 barrel in it. And while it was okay, they just weren't the greatest. These days, things have gotten a lot better. Tusk, as far as a chat room or server, I mean, maybe. I mean, I don't know how to do it, but I'm absolutely up for learning. So 8 pounds is heavy to you. Yeah, I definitely think you want to shoot a Grand or a Thompson then, or a BAR. Dear Lord, that's the one gun I will say is heavy. Especially the 1918 A2. Jesus, 80 a piece or 80 together for two of the plums. Yeah, these days, I mean, there are a few. I mean, obviously, Ukraine uses 5.45 because they do, but and Romania still has 5.45 in their military. It's still probably the most common, but special forces are using 5.56, and Romania is using 5.45. Not really because that's what they want, is because that's what they have, and they're already switching over too as soon as they can. It's more economics there for them. But East Germany, Bulgaria, Poland, they jettisoned 5.45 so quick. Hmm. Yeah, 80, especially if it's together, doesn't seem too shabby for those two Lamags to me. Busters, I mean, I like the 1022. I mean, it's a gun that everyone grew up with. As far as like a special edition stuff, I mean, most of those guns people don't want to shoot, and that's kind of a problem. If I review a gun, I typically shoot it, and there's some exceptions, but to me, reviewing is kind of shooting. Yeah, the FNC has some AK features. So does the Daewoo K2. I mean, it inspired quite a few guns out there. Wonder why. Yeah, Vepper, thanks for joining in, and good night. Yeah, cheap ammo. That's a dream. The funny thing about the Ace and weight, they definitely shaved some weight off from the regular Galil. But then they kind of added a lot of that back with the added rails and things like that. But then again, if they didn't, it would have just been super heavy. But yeah, they basically kept it more or less balanced. It's fine. It's not the lightest in the world. But what's funny is look at all the tactical ARs out there that people, yeah, the gun might start off not much over 7 pounds, but they hang so much shit off of it that it's an 11-pound gun. They're done. Yeah, I think a lot of people talking about your AUG's weight. They think the bullpups are going to be light. No, and they never were. But it's a balance thing. Yeah, like the Devore, it's not a light gun either. Especially the original Tar 21 X95 is a little lighter. But that's not really the point. They're meant to be compact, and yeah, I did that bullpup video quite recently. I'm not saying the bullpups are perfect, but they have assets. So it was the Galilei she carried in the doctor's office. Good to know. Oh yeah, the SEM7 SF, once you start sticking rails on it, it gets heavy fast. At least I think it's not so much heavy. That's not the right word. Balance. Stick a quad rail out front on the SEM7 SF, and the balance just goes. That's why I've just kept mine pretty basic over the years. To keep that balance point right. That's the thing with like the CZ805 Bren. I don't find it heavy, only because it's quite nicely balanced. Alrighty, guys. We're just here after 11, so um, uh, kind of there. I'm gonna see what else people have said, and pretty much call it a night. Let's see what you've said. Yep, Jessica. The first pumps you'll see back, like you said, in the late 19th century. It's quite cool looking at the old shotguns, and people don't realize just how early breech loaders and even metallic cartridges came around too. Lance stated the what are we talking about? I don't. Is there some? I don't pay attention. It's like when I posted that bullpup video. Apparently, I posted it during the Super Bowl. Didn't even think about it. I do my own thing. I know what you mean, though. I wouldn't have been watching it anyway. Maybe that's why YouTube was being all janky. Yeah, that's good. We'll blame that. So the AUG is more that meets the eye. Oh, the AUG's a great gun. It's reliable. It's proven. It's a good gun. It really is. Thank you, Sean. I don't think we should wait on God to bless America. I think that's something we need to do ourselves. Yeah, right. That's how it always goes. But it started off slow because of the YouTube. Yeah, the AUG isn't the bestest left hand thing. I mean, with the charging handle fixed on that. But again, keep in mind the design came out in the '70s. Yeah, yeah, it's a thing of time. Thanks for the love from Canada. Want to give me some of that crazy Canadian money? You guys still have that weird Canadian money? I haven't seen it in a while. I had a roommate. Good grief, 25 years ago now. That was Canadian. Thank you, Buster. Why the Bryn is which cat's trying to jump on me? It's Peanut. Hello, Peanut. You want to jump up there? Hmm? Can you jump? I think she's ready for me. Yeah, the Bryn too. Not specifically MS, but no, CZ did a really good job. The 805 was a good gun, and in a few ways, I still think it is a little bit better than the Bryn 2. In a few ways, but in a lot of other ways, the Bryn 2 series is just a great example of a modern gun. May not be revolutionary, but it's a very good evolution of just all the technology and all the things learned about firearms over the last 30 years since the end of the Cold War. It in the fact that we get them here unmolested for the most part, especially with the pistols. This is great. They're really, really good, and CZ's quality is really good. Yeah, I can definitely see being a lefty with the og being challenging. I really can. Good night. Good night to you too, B. Alrighty, guys. I am tired and hungry. So again, apologies for the technical difficulties, but got here in the end. Appreciate everyone as always. I'm trying to make it a regular thing on Thursdays. Once my schedule settles down a bit, it's just I've been traveling a lot for the last 3 weeks, and we'll get on. We'll get on to more regular things, and I'll get some more folks to help too. It won't just be always me, but everyone I know is really busy right now. Even J-Ro is tied up with the work that's got him going all the way. So I'm gonna hit this end stream button, guys. Let's see if it screws this up too. Maybe it'll lock me online for another 20 minutes. But no, I really greatly appreciate everyone. Feel free to email me. Been trying to get some new stuff going, and I'll make a big announcement on the Patreon tier just as soon as I get the logistics and their website worked out. And that's just as soon as I get time. Now, if you excuse me, I've got a pussy that needs petting.